Hey there, Wargamers, Justin and Paint here, and today we're going to check out the Clan Invasion Box. I'd like to welcome you guys back to the channel today, and first and foremost, before we get into these goodies here, this Battletech Clan Invasion Box, which many of you have seen, many of you have not. Before we get into this, I do want to do a quick shout out to Michael Hofacker, if I said your name right, but I don't know if you watched the channel here, but he helped me out from the Facebook groups. I was trying to get a copy of this. I already have one, but it's open. Models are in various stages of paint and whatnot, but I wanted to get a copy to do a proper unboxing here on the channel to show you guys the contents, talk about it, and have some kind of cool video to put up. Some of you guys are familiar, but some of you who may be watching this missed the Kickstarter, haven't been able to get a copy of this box, or maybe you're kind of a refugee, so to speak, from another game system, Games Workshop, and you might be looking to get into Battletech. So this is a way to see the most recent box they've put out and see the contents. Now, I will be doing an unboxing of the Game of Armor Combat box, as well as the beginner box as well, so you see what content is in those. Also, before we get into things, boom, let's give a quick shout out to Fortress Miniatures and Games. Bobby has offered to sponsor my channel, so officially I'm not just shouting him out, he's actually helping me do things here, so I'll be getting some cool things from him from time to time that'll help support the channel. And if you've seen any of my painting that's gone up on the channel or on Instagram, Facebook, things like that, most of that stuff's painted with Monument Hobbies Pro Acryl paints. Love that stuff, have all of it on my desk, and it's great. I estimate probably about 99% of all the paint jobs I've done on my models are using their paint right now, supplementing with other stuff like washes from Games Workshop or inks from Green Stuff World, stuff like that. But if you want to support what I do, check out the links below. We got a coupon code and a referral link for Monument Hobbies. And if you want to pick up some cool minis, check out Death or Designs while you're at it. So that being said, let's get into this box here. Now, first and foremost, it's a pretty hefty box. It's nice. Got a good weight to it and a thick packaging, and we'll get into that part later because there's something I really like to do with box lids and stuff from a hobby perspective. Now, at first glance here, this one has the exclusive Kickstarter cover here. I'm going to zoom out. You're going to see my kind of crappy desk here. Whoop, other direction. But you can see the whole cover here, and this is the Clan Invasion one. I think that's the Executioner. I believe that's what that is. Standing on top of a Warhammer, poor Warhammer. Now, the actual retail box here, I've got one of these as well, has the Magcat on it. Now, if I'm honest, it doesn't make a difference. The contents are the same. I favor the Magcat box art over this one. This is cool because you only get it if it's from the Kickstarter or if it's from a retail shop that got it from the Kickstarter. But I think the Magcat's cooler in my opinion. But that has no bearing on the contents here. You'll also notice up in the top right here, we've got the cost that the retail shop was charging here, and the retail here is $49.99 or $50, which is a little bit cheaper than the Game of Armor Combat box, but you get less stuff. So let's go ahead and pop this open, and I'll show you guys what to expect inside here. So we'll flip this over. Get a little zoom out here. It's a little awkward because this is a bigger box here, bigger than the other stuff I've done unboxings on. We'll go ahead and open this up. Just pop the seal here. Very precise surgical work there. Always nice the first time you pull off the wrapping of a new toy, right? Everyone likes opening stuff. Whoop. That's exactly why you guys watch this, right? You want to see. Want to hear that noise. Now, I will say this before we open this here. Now that the packaging is off. This retailing for $50 is a hell of a deal. So the mechs here, which you're going to get 5 mechs and 2 elementals, you're essentially getting them for a little less than $10 a piece if you count the infantry. So if you exclude the infantry, $50. 5 mechs, $10 a piece, give or take. Now, if you're getting metal mechs, you're probably paying over $10 for them. The deal on this is not quite as good as the Game of Armor Combat box that has 8 mechs for approximately $60. Those are easily under $10 a piece. But for the quality of the models you're getting here and the contents, I personally think retailing at $60 is a good deal. And you can usually find these online from Fortress Miniatures and Games, Ares Miniatures, Miniature Market, Amazon, things like that. You can usually find it for are at a discount as well. I know Fortress Miniatures and Games had it for like $33 for a long time, but I think most places are selling it for right around like 40, 45, something like that. Even better deal when you get it online. So if you can support your local FLGS though, I highly recommend doing so. As much as I like the online stores I shop at, the backbone of kind of hobbies these days is the FLGS stores, friendly local gaming stores, and they've been hit really hard with COVID. So if you can spend any money there, even if it's not as good of a deal as you're going to get online, if you're using their hobby space to game and paint and do stuff, spend some cash there. And if you're not buying these boxes there, buy some paints, do something, help support them. Keeping them in business is good because it gives you a place to hang out and congregate. I promise you, if you don't support your local stores and then they go out of business, you probably regret it because you won't have a place to hang out with your buddies, aside from your house, of course, but you won't have a cool hobby shop. So anyways, that said, my slight tangent, let's get that box out of the way. Now, this right here, obviously for some people this is just, oh, it's just a thick cardboard box, right? For me, this is what this is. This turns into this. It is my storage box for transporting models that I'm currently working on back and forth to my stations. Now this is the beginner box lid, but that is really good for that. So if you have multiple boxes of this stuff, I don't throw these away. I save them because they're thick and sturdy and I can transport back and forth from room to room with my minis, and I've got something that's not going to fold and break. So that is one thing. But if you're buying this and you're only getting one copy, you might keep it and not use it the way that I do so that you can have a place to store your minis. So as we open up here, we've got some little bit of literature here. I'll give you a little short story here. I have some stuff going on. The Bonds of Battle by Blaine Lee Pardoe. I know I always say Pardoe, but I guess maybe it could be Pardue. I'm going to assume it's Pardoe. If you're a member of the Facebook groups, though, one of the cool things about Blaine is that he frequents them. So a lot of times if you say something, especially about like books or actually pretty much anything Battletech, you'll see him often engage. If you're talking about a story he's associated with, he'll engage. I saw somebody talking about the, what is these books here I have? The Lethal Heritage series. I think they were talking about Tex. And Tex is Tex from Tex Talks Battletech. I think he's going to be narrating these or something, I think, by Michael Stackpole. And I believe Blaine was talking about that and was actually talking about how he was rereading, what book was it? Wolves on the Border, I think, which is really cool to have an author who's talking about someone else's work, because I don't think he wrote Wolves on the Border. I could be wrong. But my point is, I digress, I ramble a little bit. But my point is that he frequents the group and he's very accessible, which is really cool. Unlike Games Workshop, where oftentimes you can't really connect with the people who are associated with it, whether they're creating lore or art or they're designers or owners or whatever. Blaine is one of the few people from, I don't even want to say few, he is among a group of people that are associated with Battletech who's accessible, he's part of the community, and you feel like you can really connect, which is really cool. So I've read, I think, 6 of his books now. The majority of them pretty good. And I like being able to actually connect and see him talk with people. He'll like comments, or he'll give you like a, he'll say something to you if you're talking about something that's relevant. And not just like his books. I've seen him comment on artwork and stuff too, which is really, really cool. So if you're interested in learning about Battletech, you get a little primer here, give you a little backstory on some stuff, short story. But there's plenty of really good books out there. If you want to get up to date on the lore, what's going on here, there's a variety of books out there, and if you want to get up to date on where the current story is right now, Blaine actually released within the last, I think, year, Hour of the Wolf, which kind of ties a bunch of the timeline together and moves the timeline forward for the lore. There's a couple books that lead up into that, which I've read, but if you're interested, Blaine's got, I think he and one other artist did, I think it's like 5 or 6 books or so that are all like really pivotal leading up to the Ill Clan era. So depending on what you want to learn, if you're new, Blaine's got you covered on the stories. Get a little pair of dice. We're just going to chuck that over there. I throw that on the floor, I'm going to pick it up. If you're playing actual Alpha Strike, you're probably going to use more than the 1 pair of D6. If you're playing Alpha Strike with your friends and learning, you could use this, but most people play with a modified dice system. We'll talk about that stuff in the future. I don't want to get too bogged down into why 1 pair of dice is not what most people use for Alpha Strike. So we're going to get our pack of cards here. We'll get into that in a moment as well. Unit or Alpha Strike cards and pilot cards. We've got our plastic tray insert with our mechs, which I'm going to set this to the side. We're going to get through the other box of contents, and then I'll show off the models a little bit closer here. Set that over there. We've got, I think this is going to be some more basic background on the fluff, the factions. So your eras, if you're new to Battletech, this is going to give you some background on the different eras. And this is what's a little bit different from like 40K. If you're coming from a Warhammer 40K perspective, you've generally got Warhammer 40K, and you've got Warhammer 30K or pre-heresy, and that's kind of your two eras. In Battletech, you've got a lot of different eras you can play in, and even though they've moved the needle forward to the Ill Clan, which they don't have listed here, but it's what comes after the Dark Ages. Your mechs, a lot of them traverse the full timeline here, so stuff doesn't like super get retired. So if you have something that's from like Star League era, and then you want to use it in Dark Age, you probably can. There's probably a fluff reason why. A lot of Battletech comes down to fluff and justifications and what feels cool. So there's some things you can do that would be cheesy and not make sense. But if you have like an old Star League era mech, like let's grab one here. What we got? I got a Warhammer here, I think. Here we go. So let's say you've got like an old Star League era. He's not finished. I'm sorry, guys. Pew pew. But if you have like an old Star League era Warhammer and you want to use him in the Dark Age, and you're playing with your buddy, and he's like, "Yo, you got a Warhammer?" He's like, "Yeah, you know, my faction found this old SLDF mothballed cache, and you know, this Warhammer was in pieces, and they were able to hodgepodge them together and get them to work." You know, and you've got this cool backstory, and all of a sudden it's like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. That's plausible. You gotta remember that, like, there are mechs that were from the Star League era that were still being used hundreds of years later. You know, so to think that, or it's not too far-fetched to think that a mech from here could be used here, or you know, any other era moving forward. You can't take a mech from this area and go backwards, but you can take a mech from here and go forwards. And there's justifications for using mechs from different factions that other factions don't typically use, because mechs can be salvaged, or clanners can take, I believe the term is a Sorla, where it's kind of like a battle trophy or something like that. So a lot of flexibility, a lot of narrative for what you might want to do in Battletech to justify playing with your cool minis, your cool toys. You know, and most people are going to be very receptive unless you're trying to be that guy and do something super cheesy, at which point they may see right through your fluff justification. But yeah, so moving forward, we got, you know, the map talking about the different factions and kind of who controls territories. And I'm assuming, yeah, so these are like the different years for what's adjusted here. This is Clan Invasion Era 3052. Why do they both say 3052? I don't know, probably different maps. I assume one was going to be pre. But if you want to kind of get like up to date on the clans and like kind of how they started, and then I know back here it's got some factions here. Ooh, actually this is cool too. There's more clans in here. We're just going to go to the best one, Clan Wolf. I'm sure somebody watching this right now is like, you, how dare you say Clan Wolf is the best? It's all really kind of degrees of gray, if I'm honest. Some factions are more good or more bad than others, but none of them are super untainted. So if you want to learn about a particular clan, and I'm assuming there's probably some houses in here as well. Let me check. I could be wrong. If it does focus on the clans, that makes sense because it's the clan box, and the houses, yeah, so the houses are probably going to be like Game of Armor Combat. So if you want to learn about those, different box. And there's plenty of information on Sarna. I think it's sarna.net. You can learn a lot about these too. But here, if you're new as well, you got got kind of a glossary of words, which this is a lot of jargon. Not necessarily stuff you have to know, but if you want to understand what like veterans in the hobby and in the lore of the universe, what they're talking about, these are some words that you can look up and you can know. So like Batch-All, Battle Challenge, for example. You're going to hear that a lot from people in Battletech who have got an established foothold into the game and the lore. And I bet if we go here to the S's, yep, nope, they don't. Whoops, I thought that said something else. Never mind. I thought they was going to have the term Surrat. They don't. I believe that refers to a rat. It's something that the clanners call intersphere people all the time. So, anyways, I probably focused on this longer than most people do. They probably just open this box and go, ooh, and they chuck this because they're not as worried about this. They want to get into the minis. So we also get a little rule book here. Now, if you do want to get into Alpha Strike, I highly recommend you pick up the Commander's Edition book. I think they retail for like $40 or so, give or take, when they're in stock. And that's a thing with this box right now. It retails for $50. The prices online are inflated. If you're watching this and you're interested in getting it, and I somehow like persuade you to pick this up, as of filming this, the prices are crazy. Don't pay the inflated prices. Don't pay the scalpers. Just hold on a little bit. Wait till they become available if you can. Even if you pay full MSRP, don't pay a crazy upcharge, right? And hell, if you're able, talk to your FLGS and see if they can special order it and get it from the distributor, so when it becomes in stock, they can get it and you help them and they help you. But don't pay the inflated prices, it's not worth it. This box going for double or something on eBay, like $100 is stupid. Don't do that. Save yourself the money and just be patient. But if you're trying to get into classic Battletech, where you're doing like the actual more minutia of the tracking and stuff, this right here is Alpha Strike. We'll get into the classic sheets, which we've got here, but if you get into that, this is going to be going to help you out a little bit. So this is going to be some basic rules for you to play through with your mechs, and if I recall, this is going to focus more on the classic style of gameplay. I don't think this covers Alpha Strike. Let me do a quick cursory glance here. Yeah, I don't think they do. I think this is basically for classic, and this can be a bit much. I really favor Alpha Strike because it's faster, but if you're interested in more of a D&D style game, here you go, got you covered. And you can see as we get into the record sheets, and if you are getting into classic and you're muddling your way through, either laminate your sheets or scan them and print them out. Don't waste them, because you may not be able to get copies of these elsewhere without working too hard to find them. There's not a readily available resource online that I know of. There might be like I think it's a thing called like Skunkworks or something, and then maybe like Megamech or something where you can get these, but there's no like super easy resource to get to. And if someone does know one, that's legal. Don't be posting illegal stuff in the comments. Feel free. But Master Unit List does have all the cards for Alpha Strike for free. So like in an ideal world, I think Catalyst probably wants you to buy the record sheets. But because these come with it, and it's the basic record sheets for all the mechs in the box, highly recommend you laminate them or scan them and print them out before use so that you save these. But as you can see here, if you're getting into classic, you've got your armor diagram and you've got your internal structure. You've got a whole slew of other things to keep track of too. But when you get hit, the damage hits here first, and then if you take damage to a certain location and all your pips are filled, it starts going to internal, and then that starts doing more things. So it's like armor hit points, and then you have like internal hit points, so to speak. So like if you're a human, it would be like getting bruised or getting penetrated, sort of. Whereas in Alpha Strike, for the anatomy of the card, you have armor, and then you have structure, and then you have some crits that can happen that are right here, but it's very, very basic. You don't have to roll to see where you hit. It's just, did you hit and how much damage did you do? Did you hit structure? Boom, you roll for criticals or you don't. This one's very different, and there's a lot more to it. So this one is more, for me, in my opinion, this is more like D&D style or simulation gameplay if you want it, and low model count. If you're playing with 4 models versus someone else playing 4 models, it's going to take you a good while. If you're playing with 4 models of Alpha Strike or a Lance versus another Lance, or maybe a couple Lances versus a Star, you can play that in a couple of hours, whereas this might take you all day. So it kind of comes down to what it is you want to do. Get a nice poster here. That's actually very, very shiny. It's a very thick stock as well. Yeah, it's super thick. I can't unfold and show everything, but it's we got a map here of worlds, and I believe, yeah. So we got the kind of inner sphere, what's going on with who's controlling territories and stuff. This is pretty big. Again, I can't quite get it all on screen. This is probably 3 foot by 3 foot, 3 foot by 2.5, something like that. It's a pretty big poster. Pretty nice. When I get stuff like this from the Kickstarter or from books, I very often will buy a frame to put it in. I've got some really cool prints I bought with frames. So also in the box we have this. This is really nice kind of cardboard stock here. If you're playing classic, it's got a quick reference guide for things that you may need to know and reference. You know, so like for example, we're talking about locations. So let's see if it's got it over here. Yeah. So this one's got like the punch locations. I was looking for the shooting one. So like if you shoot at someone in this, you roll each weapon that fires, and you would roll 2d6 to see where you hit on the enemy mech. So all of this is stuff that you use to play with this, whereas with Alpha Strike, you don't use that. It's much more simplified. But if you are getting into classic, this is really nice. I highly recommend taking care of this. It's probably not irreplaceable. You can probably find copies of this online to print and laminate, but hell, laminating this one might not even be that bad, especially just to keep it protected. You know, takes that one time someone spills their drink on the table and this is messed up, right? So one of the cool things about Battletech, if you're new, is you can play with standees or proxies, printouts, you know, jelly beans, whatever it is you want, as long as you know what stat sheet corresponds with it. Now, if you go to an official event, they may likely require physical models, right? But if you're just playing with your buddies, you can play this like a board game. So you've got these pop-out standees. So you get your 5, in this case, you get your 5 plastic minis and your 2 elementals, but you also get these standees that you can pop out and you and a buddy can play, or maybe you both are using the plastics and you're fighting against some NPCs you want to come up with, however you want to run your scenario. Get these cool cardboard standees. You've also got some terrain. Now, this standard classic is played on a hex grid. We got a map down here we'll see in a moment. And these are things that you can use to spice up your map. And again, it's that thick kind of cardboard cardstock. If you've played board games before, you're familiar with this. If you've done any X-Wing miniatures, you're familiar with this kind of material. But you've got these pop-outs and you can spice up your map a little bit. Now, one of the things that for me as a war gamer is difficult is getting used to a hex-based game. Now, when I play Alpha Strike, I do not play on a grid. I play Alpha Strike like a standard war game, true line of sight, 3D terrain, everything. But a lot of people who are into the more simulation aspect of this game and the more pedantic, specific things you do, this works really well with them. It's just hard for me to visualize. So right now you have like, this is level 1 terrain. If you were looking at an actual like mech here, level 1 terrain might be something that's like that tall, right? And he would have to hop up on it. And level 2 might be that tall. But on the table, it's flat. So it's hard to visualize sometimes with the hex game. So if you're getting into it, that's one of the things that'll be a trip up. But it's nice to have these. The water's a little easier because you know it's water. You can see it and you know that goes down, but things that go up for verticality, they're a little hard. But this is a nice feature to have. Now, to piggyback on what I was saying, we've got our paper fold-out mats. Now, it's a rather small play surface, but when you're playing Classic, you don't have to have a very large play area, usually using a handful of models. And you've got 2 maps here, or 2 double-sided maps here, and I believe you can actually set them side-by-side touching. They could touch each other, right? So you can increase your play surface or play area. Now, this is one thing that's nice to have in here from a board game perspective, but these are just like paper. They're very thin. These aren't waxy material like the poster, which would have made them shiny and probably uncomfortable to stare at for long periods of time. But because they're paper, they're going to be more prone to being folded, unfolded, and fraying, and eventually like doing like origami or something, you fold and unfold something long enough and it'll tear, right? So I highly recommend, if you enjoy playing on the hexes, look, or I highly recommend considering or checking out the, actually I think I've got one right here, the neoprene mats from Catalyst. And they are made from like this mouse pad material, and they've got the same hexes already pre-printed on them, and they can fold out and roll out, and you can generally take 2 of them and put them you know, butt to butt and have a bigger play area if you really like the grids. Now, there's also companies that make maps with grids already on them, and I know that Table War has a clear map that you can roll across an existing wargaming mat, like a 40K mat, for example, and it has clear hexes and a black border or white border, if I recall, that'll display across the top, and you'll see the underlying map through it. Now, it is shiny, so that's a downside, but the neoprene is much more durable than these paper ones. So now with the paper, as I was saying before, one of the things that always is difficult for me is knowing the elevation. So we've got, if we're looking at the map here, we've got ground level, then we've got level 1, then we've got level 2, right? And then we have level 3 here, so it's getting higher, but trying to visualize that, can something here see something here on a flat thing is very hard for, you know, using depth perception because it's all flat. Knowing trees are here, and you know, knowing that you pay more movement to go through, or they provide cover, those are easy things to remember because it's trees and you can see it. It's when you start going to the verticality and you increase the height that, for me, it breaks the immersion and it's a little more difficult. For some people who don't have terrain or they prefer this, that's perfectly fine. For me, I prefer more of a 3D style if I can help it. There's a time and place for Classic if you're into it. I do like it when I have friends to play with. If we're playing like 4 of us and each one of us controls like a lance, or not lance, a mech, and we're like the pilot of the mech, that's where this is fun for me. If I have like 8 mechs or something and I want to do like a large battle, this is too much for me personally. But if you're on the fence, you're not sure what kind of gameplay style you want to get into, you've got this, and you've got Alpha Strike, 2 ways to play in one box. So let's throw everything back in here. And then we're going to start checking out the plastic models, which some of you guys, that may be mostly what you were interested in seeing in the first place. So we'll throw that in here, bring our minis back over. Dun, dun, dun. There we go. So everything went back in there. Pretty simple, pretty easy peasy there. All right, so let me zoom out just a smidge here. All right, so let's pop open our cards and we'll start looking at some of the mechs. Now, the one downside to this box is that the elementals did not come with a card. If I'm honest, that's one major critique I would give Catalyst. I think it's kind of stupid that we didn't get a card with these models. Now, this is one of the first plastic combined arms style models we got. We got plenty of mechs now. We didn't really get a lot of infantry or tanks until the Kickstarter Wave 2 shipped, and we got the Shillone, the Flyer. We got this guy here. It's I think the first plastic like Aerotech thing we got, and it did come with cards, but the elementals didn't. So if you do get this box, you're gonna have to go to Master Unit List to get the stat cards. So let me see here. I'll actually just bring this up. This is pretty pretty ridiculous. I could do some editing, but I'm going to bring it up for you here. So we're going to go to masterunitlist.info, right? So you bring that up, and then you would go to, and this is super good for you guys who are new. So it seems a little janky that this is the way I'm doing it, but it's super easy. And this is also official. This is an official app for from Catalyst or associated with Catalyst, so that you're not going to some like PDF.net Russian website or something to get illegal stuff. This is pure legal. So we go in and we just type in elemental, and we've got. So it comes up with Elemental Battle Armor 2 and Battle Armor 1. So we'll just hit the first one, hit search, and then we've got the infantry drop down, boop, right? And then you have a whole list of the different units. And let's go ahead and grab, let's grab the micro, or the pulse laser one. So this one, you'll see the era. This one was introduced in 3068 to 3080. So this is not a Clan Invasion era one. Let's see here. This Jihad, how come we're not getting any of these that are? There we go. So this one's pre-Clan Invasion, so this would be useful for Clan Invasion. And so here's the stat card right here, and you could print these out here. Actually, it's got multiple stat cards. Interesting. Oh, because it's different squad sizes. Derp. So it will mirror what we've got here for Alpha Strike for the cards. And then you could print these, or you could build your list here. So open a new tab, and there's your card. And you could zoom in, print it out. Getting all these messages here while I'm trying to film a video here, but you can print that out and get what you need. But it's worth noting to let you guys know where you can get this, because you can't get this. This card doesn't come with the box, so this is where you get your information. And there's multiple variants that do different things. So when you go to look to build your list, there you go. So I suppose I could zoom in on the elemental while I've got it out, right? This is what you guys want to see. The minis. Stop talking, Justin. Show me the minis, like money, but minis. Now these are really good. If I'm honest with you, I was very impressed with these. Now I'm a fanboy and I like minis and I like the stuff. I'm pretty pleased with everything Catalyst has put out, except for the fact we didn't get cards with this. Some of the mold lines on things are a little annoying, but it's nothing I'm not used to, so it's not really worth complaining about. But the size that these are and the fact that they are made out of plastic injection is really nice. You also get these really nice like jet plumes that come up on them. And you get 5-toe base. They're pre-assembled. You could do a little cleaning if you see some flash on them or something, but they're so small that I'm not too worried about it personally, and the detail level is really nice, and they'll be pretty speedy to paint. You don't have to slave over edge highlighting these unless you really want to, because they're so damn small. Compared to an actual mech here, let's grab one you guys might be familiar with, might not. This one's been out for a while. This is the Thunderbolt. You guys will see this when I do the unboxing for Game of Armor Combat, where you can see kind of a size comparison, right? So I really like these. The only other thing I could say that's a slight complaint is that you get 2 in the box, and ideally you would want to own 5. You can run them as singles, but with clan or stuff, they usually run things in groups of 5 when you can. That's their star formation stuff. And the only other way to get these is to buy these boxes, which only come with 2. So if you got 2 boxes, you have 4. If you got 3 boxes, you got 6. So you would have to get 5 boxes to get something divisible by 5, and that's a lot, right? And then the box that these came in individually has 5 in it, so you always have an odd number of elementals, which is fine. You know, having more is probably better than not having any at all. But it was not a number that was easily rounded out to 5. So I would have liked to have seen this box been more in line with the $60 price range of like a Game of Armor Combat, but we would have gotten 5 of these instead of 2. I personally think that would have been cooler for the fluff purposes. It's not the end of the world, but I would have liked 5. So let's get into our stat cards here. Let's pop these open after I had my side tangent there. And we're going to sort them out and kind of leave the best for last, so to speak. I'm gonna leave the Magcat. It's the iconic mech that everyone knows. If you've played any online games, you're familiar with the Magcat. You've seen it in games. You've played Mech Warrior and stuff like that, so you've seen it. So let's go ahead and start with the Mongrel here. It's got cards stuck to it. All right. Now this one I didn't take super seriously until a friend of mine played against me with it. So let's check out the card first. So we've got 2 different variants here. 46-point Mongrel Prime, also known as a Grendel. So if you are new to Battletech, some of the unit cards, not all of them, but some of them will have a name in parentheses and then a name here. That is because the inner sphere would know it as one name, in this case the Grendel. That's what the inner sphere calls it, and the clan calls this the Mongrel. So you'll notice that as well on the Magcat's a really iconic one, so you'll see that a lot. It's called a Magcat, but for the clanners they called it the Timberwolf. And that's because when they invaded, the inner sphere had never saw this mech before, and they didn't know what to call it. Now, this one in particular has a really cool name, why that is the way it is. I'll get to that when we check him out. I don't want to get too sidetracked here. But suffice to say, clanners call it one thing, inner sphere call it another, because they had no idea what it was called when they showed up. So we've got the Prime variant at 46 points, and the Mongrel A variant at 48. So at the top here, we've got our Team M3, so that's the modifier that the penalty that's suffered when you shoot at it if it moves over an inch. 14-inch move with jump jets, 4 damage at short, 4 at medium, and 1 at long. We've got Case and Omni. Decent amount of life. He's a little expensive. You'll notice that if you're comparing these to Inner Sphere stuff when you guys get into it, if this is new to you, you pay a premium for clan stuff because they usually have really good stats here and really good stats here. They suffer right here. They're more glass cannons and they rely on their piloting, so to speak, because they have higher TMM, so they're harder to hit, but they suffer by not having a lot of life. Whereas the Inner Sphere stuff has a lower TMM and cheaper points and more life. They usually do less damage on average. It's not always a 1-to-1, but something along those lines. And they're just tanky, so they could take a lot of hits, but they don't hit real hard. These guys hit real hard and can't take a lot of hits, so it's kind of the balancing factor. You'll also find that if you're playing against Inner Sphere, you're going to be, and you're playing clans, you're probably going to be outnumbered. So for the A variant, still got the Team M3, 14-inch move with jump jets, 442 for damage. Now this one's got some different special abilities. He's got the same amount of life. Now this one's got Case, Indirect Fire 2, LRM 222, and Omni. Omni's the rule that lets you tote the power armor. You have to have the Omni keyword. There's some other rules for how they can attach, but in this case, if you have the Omni keyword, you can always carry 1 point of elementals. In this case, that's what they call 5 elementals is 1 point, and 5 points make a star for the elementals, which would be 25 infantry, whereas 5 mechs make a star when you're looking at mechs. So this variant is 2 points more. He's got a little bit more damage at long range. Oh, this one also has Overheat, which I missed. So Overheat allows you at short and medium range to increase your damage by 1 at the expense of a heat value. In this case, I really like this one for 2 points more, unless you're really trying to shave points. The ability to have indirect fire. If you're not using special issue ammo, the LRMs are kind of, you know, whatever. But Indirect Fire 2 means that if he's got a spotter, this guy can sit behind terrain and he can shoot for 2 points of damage and try and hit. He takes a penalty for it, but he can use the terrain to protect himself because he doesn't have a lot of life. And then he can choose when he engages and when he tries to leverage that high TMM value. It's also worth noting that if you have jump jets, when you jump, you do take a penalty that you suffer for shooting because you're jumping. It's harder to hit things, but you're also harder to hit. So he takes a TMM of modifier of +1, so he becomes a 4 target movement modifier, which means when your opponent tries to hit, they suffer a penalty of 4 innately to hit. So for newcomers to Battletech, we'll do a real quick rundown. Your point total up here is what it costs to field the unit, and this point total is always assumed to be pilot skill 4. If your pilot skill gets better, this number changes, and there's math on how to do that, but Master Unit List does it all for you. If this thing goes into a negative direction where your skill gets worse, this goes down. They're tethered, but just using straight card, your skill here is always assumed to be a 4. That's kind of your average. So when you're shooting at someone in the game, your base dice roll that you're looking for is your pilot skill or gunnery skill. In this case, you're looking for 4s, and then you add modifiers, right? So let's say the Grindel's trying to shoot at another Grindel, and that Grindel has jumped and moved over an inch, right? So he's got a Team M3 plus the modifier for jumping, so it's a 4, right? So you're adding 4 to what you need to roll, not adding 4 to the roll to enhance it in a negative way. So your skill value is a 4, right? Now you're adding the TMM of your target, which is 3 plus their jump, so 8 in this case, right? And then the range modifier. So you're already needing to roll 8s. And then let's say you're at medium range. That's another 2 penalties. So now you need 10s. Now let's say that mongrel is in cover. That's another +1. Now you need 11s. So you can see how that starts to add up very quickly. So that TMM value plus jumping plus cover is huge. He's a glass cannon, but if you use him as kind of a hit and run, an annoying guy up in the front, up in your face, and use that cover, if he does get hit, it's going to suck. It's going to be really bad. But on 2d6, rolling an 11 is no joke. And if their pilot skill was better than a 4, it was a 3, they need a 10. If it's a 2, then they need a 9. And if it's a 1, they need an 8. And if it's a 0, which is like elite, it is like a named character. It's like Gandalf, you know, or Legolas. It's like a named hero. They would need a 7, which is an average roll in 2d6. To hit this guy who's moving and jumping, you would have to be like a hero in the game to hit on an average roll of a 6.5 to 7, right? So like that's why these Team M modifiers are so important, and that's what happened to me when I played against the mongrel here. I just looked at him, I was like, oh, he's kind of goofy looking, till I had to roll those high-ass numbers to hit him, so he's a pain in the butt. So things to consider if you're getting into the game and you want to know how he's useful. He is very expensive, but leverage his agility, basically. Here is that model. And it's a lot cooler than I gave it credit for. I like asymmetry in my models, so got a cool little punchy arm, little lasers on there. Got our, it's probably an LRM, I think. Nope, that's probably SRM6, it's 6 tubes. And then he's got his like little laser cannon over here, so very cool model. Cool place to do jump jet effects, put a little glow in there, very nice. And the other thing that's really cool with here is don't discount how efficient a dry brush will be on these models. It'll be very helpful for you if you want to paint something quickly. So there's the mongrel / Grindel. Very cool model. Now let's check out what pilots we get here with this. Now these are usually not applicable to Alpha Strike. These are usually useful for Classic. I think there's some times where this is useful in Alpha Strike, but usually this is a Classic thing. So you'd have, I believe, Gunnery 3 and 4. We'll pause, if you want to read this, pause here and you can read them. I'll read off his name and then we'll flip. And the cool thing here is we got quite a few pilot cards here, whereas I think the Game Armor Combat, I think, might have came with less. So here we've got Maris, which is from Clan Diamond Shark. Got her cool abilities here. 3 gunnery, 4 pilot skill. Now you'll notice that they've got 2 stats here, whereas Alpha Strike has 1, Alpha Strike simplified. So your gunnery skill is shooting, and your piloting skill is checks like falling down or trying to stand up and things like that. You don't have that issue in Alpha Strike. It's a much more simplified game. On the back here, we've got Kristen Ott from Clan Jade Falcon. And then we've got Rajesh, I think, from Clan Smoke Jaguar. Whoop. And then we've got Jundar, Star Commander from Clan Still Viper. Boop. And you can see from their skills here, we got Standard Mech Warrior, got the Star Commander, we got another Star Commander, and then we have a Star Captain. And you can notice the stats reflect that. So when we're talking about needing a higher gunnery skill to hit stuff, this one is a 1 gunnery skill, 2 piloting skill. This person is getting close to like a named character, and that's probably a named character in the lore somewhere. But your Karinsky's, your Aiden Prides, which he might not even be a 0, but your like really baller characters are ones that get 1s and 0s. And even then, like I was saying, depending on the modifiers, it may still be an average roll for them, an insane roll for someone who's not of their godlike stature. So it can get pretty crazy. All right, so for our next mech here, Let's get into one of the big boys, which also I thought was kind of goofy until I had to fight against one. So let's go ahead and check out, let me find the card here, the Gladiator / Executioner Prime. And I gotta love this one for just a moment, because we got our Clan Wolf Beta Galaxy colors, and that's my galaxy. That's who I play. That's what I'm painting currently. So I got the Gladiator Executioner Prime, 51 points. Team M2, which is less than the other guy, but this is a big mech. That other guy's a medium. This guy's he's either really heavy or really light assault. I can't remember his tonnage, but you'll notice that compared to Inner Sphere, usually the Clanners have a better TMM than the Inner Sphere do, and you'll notice that the life on this guy is a bit higher as well. So comparing the pips of life. And this guy's 48 points. For 3 points more, you get this guy, right? But the stats at the top, the TMMs are different, right? Their damage is very similar, but this guy's a little bit easier to hit. So he has no overheat value, Team M2. He's got a 10-inch move, 8-inch jump. That's what the J stands for, right? Now he's got an ability down here where it's Jump Jet's weak, right? JMPW1, it's a weak one, which means he does not get a bonus when he jumps. He may actually take a penalty, I can't remember, but he doesn't get the bonus for sure. 4 damage across the board, which is pretty nice, but right down here makes him really simple because his special abilities are pretty tame. He's got Case and Omni. Case basically means if he would take an ammo explosion critical effect, he doesn't explode, he just takes an extra damage. He's got something that encases his ammo, so he doesn't die if his munitions explode. Omni just lets you know his Omni mech, and he can tote these little guys, points of elementals. This is one of the things that I recommend for people who are playing Alpha Strike for the first time. Obviously look at your point totals and find mechs you like, but try and find stuff early on that doesn't have a lot of abilities. This is a pretty straightforward, simple mech to use. And this version of the Grendel, same thing. It's just got Omni and Case. Having to worry about indirect fire if you know what it does is good, but if you're just learning and you're trying to play straight up, pick ones with easy abilities you don't have to remember and that aren't going to make or break the game. Just start simple, and then when you're like, hey, I want to try this variant, go read the rules, find out what they do, and try and use them in a game. But start off simple and use stuff that doesn't have a lot of keywords. That's what I do, and I've learned as I've gone, and I've progressed and tried to learn new stuff as I go. So this one's 51 points. That's the Prime variant, which is kind of the standard. We've got the Executioner A, who's 6 points more. He's got a higher damage value, same stats up here. Still got the weak jump jets, still has the Case and Omni, so pretty straightforward on the abilities. This guy's gonna be easy to pilot, just run down the field and blow stuff up. A little bit more expensive, but you're paying for the cool factor on him. 5 damage at short and medium, 4 at long, which you're not gonna be using very often. Generally, you're playing Alpha Strike on a 4 foot by 4 foot table or less. Usually, you could play on bigger ones, but that's kind of the common one for normal point games. And your medium range band that you're going to be firing at the +2 penalty is from 6 to 24, which is most engagements. You may get some at the 24 to 42. It's really weird. Instead of doing 24 to 48, they did 42. It's bizarre. I don't know why. You might get a few long range shots, but with someone like this, he's probably pushing up to the midfield to shoot stuff, and most of your combat for most mechs is probably going to be here. Short range is 0 to 6, which is unlikely to be happening unless you're a fast mech or fast mech gets in your face. Now, the thing that makes him particularly lethal is he's got overheat value 2, which means that you can't use it long unless you have a special ability. Overheat works on short and medium. And that means that he can take a heat penalty that he suffers stat deficiencies the following turn, but for this turn, he can sacrifice his efficiency next turn by upping his damage now, if you really got to get that damage through on somebody. So he can add, make his damage value a 5 to a 7 on either one of those, which is pretty fantastic. To put it in perspective, if this mongrel ran up on this gladiator, got point blank with him at range 1, and was trying to hurt you, and you turned and shot him, and you did get lucky and you hit with everything, you'd take him out in one shot with an overheat. So, like, this guy's no joke. That's pretty lethal, and he's not even the most damaging thing that you're going to see in the game, but that's there's some reasons why overheat is a thing to have in your back pocket when you absolutely need it. It can come back to bite you in the butt, but if your back's against the wall and it's you or the other guy, you hit that, you fire everything and you blast your lasers, and if he goes down and you walk out alive, doesn't matter how messed up your mech is. You rose and he fell. That's the way it goes, right? That's probably not clanner friendly. It's probably not how they want to function, but that's how we're going to do it today. So let's check out the pilot cards, and then we'll get into the model. So we've got Hundiak here. Mech Warrior from Clan Wolf, Beta Galaxy. Whoop. And we've got Star Commander from, or Piddick Critchell, Star Commander from Clan Jade Falcon. Shoop. And again, you know, you guys can skip forward if you want or pause this if you want to read these more. I want to give you an opportunity to read these because some people didn't get them or they've traded and they don't get pilots, and it's just an opportunity to read the fluff and stuff if you want to know. So we have Sabine from Clan Ghost Bear. Pretty cool clan. If you're going to pick one, that one's a really, like, pretty, I think, well-received one because they're pretty tame, pretty relaxed, and they've got some pretty cool backstory here. Can't go wrong with most clans, but I like the Ghost Bears. So we've got Marzander, Mech Warrior from Clan Novacat. Okay, and let's go ahead and get the model here. This is a chunky boy. Now, compared to the Mongrel here, look how big that guy is. And he's got jump jets. He can jump. He's got thrusters back here somewhere, like in his, yeah, he's in his legs here, that can jump him forward, and he can actually like get his probably like 80-ton self off the ground. It's bananas. Everything in Battletech's pretty ridiculous, but in a fun way. Pretty crisp details, pretty nice. Again, don't discount using the dry brush to get your details on this very quickly. Occasionally you'll see a mold line or something you want to clean, but these aren't too bad. And if you didn't clean it and you painted it anyway, most people probably aren't going to notice. And if they do, they're just nitpicking. It's like, if you sit down and play Battletech with me and you fully painted all your stuff and you missed a few mold lines, I'm tickled pink that you actually have painted models, to be honest with you. I don't give a shit about your mold line. I'm real excited that you took the time to paint a cool thing. Let's talk about your story. Let's talk about your fluff. Let me know why you did what you did, and let's do battle. Let's roll some dice. So he's got that face. Rah, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you. So pretty cool. And got a good heft to it too. Now this isn't like GW quality like plastic, but it's nice stuff. And if you find that you have like a bent weapon or something, you can put a little bit of hot water on it. Not boiling water, but get just tap water that's really, really hot. If your tap water doesn't get really hot, you know, pop it in the microwave for a moment. Doesn't need to be boiling, but needs to be, you know, pretty hot. Put it in there, soak it for a second, and then bend it back. And what you could do, pro tip, if you've got like a bent barrel or something, you get it hot and you bend it and hold it back in place. While you're holding it, get a couple like ice water or switch your tap water to cold real quick and then put this under it. So it's like flash chill it. So you've like bent it back in place and you get real cold, so now it stiffens up and gets hard, and you can kind of work it back into place that way so you don't have to hold it so long. So hot and cold water help you bend stuff. So next up here, let's go ahead and get into the Anova Prime, the Blackhawk here. Now, point totals are similar to what we've seen here. This one's going to be, I believe, a medium mech, coming in at 41 points. Team emote value of 2, jump jets 10, pretty good. Now, it's got some special abilities down here that are different. It's got E&E, which means it doesn't suffer from explosions because it doesn't have ammo. It's an energy mech. Now, its damage value is at 5 short, 5 medium, 0 long. Again, can be playing mostly at that medium range. Life total is a little low, kind of glass cannon-y for the points, but he makes up for it with the TMM and his damage value. Overheat value of 4, and you'll notice this only goes up to shutdown. So if he overheats 4, he shuts down. But at short and medium range, he can do 9 damage, which is absolutely bananas if he hits. You know, if you're looking at this, that would one-shot the Grendel, and if you're looking at this guy, he's got like 3, 6, 9. That's all of his structure gone, and that's assuming he's fresh, right? So 9 damage is pretty good, no slouch. Like, that's going to hurt. Most people aren't going to want to deal with that. He's going to be a threat. He does more damage on an overheat than the Grendel does. Grendel's a 5.54. Granted, he doesn't have long range, but he's a 5.5, so short and medium at the average ranges. He out damages him, and he's got overheat of 4. He's just not as tanky, and he's cheaper. So this guy's no slouch. He's going to be pretty vicious if you can get him into combat. But again, kind of a glass cannon. So flip it over, check out the Nova A, which is coming in at 6 points less. Now you'll notice it's got a long range value of 3 instead of a 0, and it's got 3 for short and medium, no 5, and overheat value of 1, so a little bit more practical. I won't say a lot, but good point savings there. It can explode because it no longer has the energy, but it has AMS. So when a unit who has indirect fire, LRM, SRM, stuff like that on their card attacks him, after they roll their damage, he reduces the damage he would take by 1 because he has anti-missile systems. So that's something where, like, if you're wanting to be real simple, you could run this. You know what energy is. That's all you need to know. And if you're running your elementals, you've got Omni, so you know. If you're running this one, you just got to ask your opponent what they're using, so you know when your AMS comes into question or not. So pretty cool. Nice little mech here. let's go ahead and grab the pilots for that, and then we'll check those out and check out the model. So we've got, first up, Clan Wolf, the best clan. It's never going to get old. Someone in the comments is going to give me shit, but it is what it is. So we got Spillern, Mech Warrior, Clan Wolf. Whoop, flip him over. We got Juani, Zywat, if I said it right, Clan Jade Falcon. I like that color scheme. That white or gray with red, that's pretty slick. Then we've got Bob Becker, which Ghost Bear, pretty cool. In the current story, the current timeline, there's one of my favorite characters from Blaine Pardoe's Hour of the Wolf is oh man, he's Becker. Man, I just had it. They call him the War Bear, but he's got the blood name Becker. I feel like his name starts with an R. Ramiel Becker, something like that's coming to mind. He was so cool. He was a badass and just a really cool character. So you'll notice these names are, a lot of people have similar last names because in clan lore, you earn your last name. It's not given to you at birth. You would have a first name and you get your blood name when you earn it. And it has nothing to do with your genetics. It has to do with you taking a trial to get that name. So it's pretty cool. And finally, we got Sojak from Smoke Jaguar. Not my favorite paint scheme there, but some Smoke Jaguar guys are probably like, I like my orange and yellow, get out of here. All right, so let's get into the model here, the Nova, and you can see why this guy's got the damage value he did. Look at all them lasers on his arms. Now this is one of those designs that you either love it or you hate it. I like the cockpit with the kind of aircraft. There's some mold lines and stuff on here, but in general, the design seems kind of weird to me. It's not as aesthetically pleasing as some of the other stuff, in my opinion. But some people probably like it. Yep. Just because you might think it's goofy doesn't mean you get to ignore it, though. Don't sleep on this mech. If he gets up on you at short range, special on your rear, you'll be rolling. You get a bonus when you're shooting somebody in the rear arc. So if he's shooting you in the rear arc, he's doing if he overheats, 10 damage. That's no good. So don't let the Blackhawk laser you in the butt. Ain't good. Yes, it is. Let me do it. Just kidding. Don't listen to him. All right. So next up, we've got 2 mechs left. Let's check out the Puma. Now this one's one of my favorites in the box, just because he's a fast little turd, and I just feel like for the points, he's a pretty good mech. So we got Team M2, movement 12, 30 points. 3 damage across the board with Overheat. He's got Energy, Omni, and now we've got our first Overheat Long here, which means that OVL's Overheat Long, which means normally you can only overheat at short and medium. He can overheat at all 3 range bands, which is pretty nice. So you can actually use that, leverage that long range if you want to. Again, that's only going to come up on the first turn or 2, probably. You're mostly going to be using that medium range, but for the points, he doesn't have a lot of life, but that's not bad for the points, and he's you can't sleep on him. So by comparison, the Awesome from Inner Sphere, this is an assault mech. I believe he's 80 tons, maybe 90 tons, somewhere in there, right? He has 3 damage across the board, and I don't think he has Overheat, at least on the variant I usually run. So damage values are similar. He's way tankier. He's got way more life than him, but comparing the two, their damage output, their threat output is the same, right? So he's putting out the same as this big assault mech. So it's all a matter of perspective and what you want to do with a mech. So well, this may be less than what we've seen, but those numbers were pretty high. This is a pretty decent like average, and for his points, not too bad. So by comparison, when we were looking at like the Nova here, right? If you were dealing 3 damage to him, that's still crazy. It's almost half his life. Right, he's got 8 life. You hit him for 3, or overheat 4, half his life. Right, so no slouch. Don't sleep on the Puma. And that's the Prime variant. So let's flip them. Whoosh! 5 points more for the A variant. Now his damage goes up, but he loses overheat. So you're paying 5 points more to basically not have to overheat. And you get that 443. He's also got Case, Indirect Fire, and LRM, which means he's immune to ammo explosions. He would just take, or he doesn't die from an ammo explosion. He just takes 1 or an extra damage, and then he can Indirect Fire. So not too bad. It kind of comes down to what you want to do with them. I'm inclined to like this one if you have the points, simply because you don't have to worry about the heat being an issue to pump out extra damage. You're basically paying 5 points to be overheated all the time and not suffer the penalties for it. And you also have the added benefit of Indirect Fire if you need to hide behind some terrain and just blink at somebody. So I like that variant. Now let's check out the pilot cards we got here. For the Puma, we got Red, that's a name, Red from Clan Wolf. Swoop. We got We Win. We Win! I don't know if that's a troll, if it's a real thing. If there's any Jade Falcon fans who are listening to this, let me know. We win! We've got Camille Delvalar from Clan Ghost Bear. Shoo-whoop. And then we've got Celinda, Clan Smoke Jaguar. There you go. I like that there's always like little flavor text there. It's pretty cool. And now let's check out the Puma model. I mean, my sound effects might have been too much, but I like it. He's kind of like a little turtle. Or if you play League of Legends, he kind of reminds me of Rammus, just rolling in. But yeah, so I like the cannons here, pretty nice. You might occasionally find a mold line or something on them, pretty easy to clean. I like the cowling here, and one of the things that's really nice that you can see on this guy pretty easily is he's got these really nice panel lines. So like that's the back of my blade here, and you can see like giving a little pressure, it's down in there. So like if you're gonna paint this model and you're using washes, or in particular an oil wash, if you're familiar with those. If you're not, you should check out the channel sometime. I'll try and put a video up if I can to explain how to do that. But you get these nice areas, these nice recesses where washes pick them up. So that's a really nice thing on here, and it's something that some of the metals have, some of them don't, but there's no shortage of nice areas on most of these models. Got this cool cockpit, and these come pre-assembled, which is nice. And compared to the Nova, which they have similar aesthetics, right? The Puma looks cooler to me. I'm not sure why. I've always liked it, and I just imagine him running around, and I really like it. I'll have some updates for my Clan Wolf stuff at some point, and I've got a Puma that I've been working on that's really cool, so I really like it. Now, last but not least, the king, not necessarily maybe the real king, but in this case, the king of this box, the one, the iconic, the one and only, the thing everyone knows if they know nothing about Battletech, is the Magcat. Now, before we get into the card here, we're going to bring it full circle. Earlier in the video, I talked about the naming, and this is one of the cool things that I liked about Battletech with some of the lore. So this is a Timberwolf, right? It's what the clan calls it, or the clanners. But the Inner Sphere calls it a Magcat. Now, I don't have a catapult over here, but I do have a Marauder. Now, they've got some similar aesthetics. You know, the arms are kind of similar, and then the catapult's got these rockets, right? So if you were to take those rockets and put them up here, you get something that's a little similar. So in the fluff, the IFF, or Identify Friend Foe type of system the Inner Sphere was using, it was tracking some of the weapon systems and the profiles on this mech, and when it was popping up target information for the pilots, it was popping up and it was saying Marauder or MAD, and then Cat for catapult, and it was just flip-flop, Magcat, 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 back and forth. And because their systems, their targeting computers, their IFF stuff, it couldn't determine what mech they were looking at, and the Inner Sphere had no idea what it was, because when these guys came in 3052, or what, I think it's like 3052 or something like that, Clan Invasion era. When they roll in, the Inner Sphere had never seen this mech before. The clanners, even though they had kind of sent some probes in to get some information about the spies, basically about the Inner Sphere, they were pretty particular about not sending stuff that that the Inner Sphere would not have recognized. They wanted to blend in, so to speak. So it was pretty cool that that's the way they came up with the name Magcat, because the pilots, their systems kept saying Magcat, Magcat, flipping back and forth. So they literally just called it a Magcat, because it looks like a Marauder or a catapult kind of smashed together. So a little bit of lore, a little bit of trivia there for you, which I think is really cool. So for this variant here, we've got the Timberwolf Prime coming in at 54 points, Team M2. This is a heavy mech, 75 tons. Team M2, which is pretty awesome. Whereas the Thunderbolt here, I think, is like 65, tons. And his movement is an 8, if I recall, and his Team M's a 1, right? So similar in size and in scope, but this guy's got a Team M of a 2, which is it's no joke. Good movement, good damage, 554, overheat value of 1, so you can pump that up to 6 or 6 at short or medium. He's got case, indirect fire, LRM 112, and Omni. Not bad for being able to march down the field, lob some missiles from behind cover, and then jump out when you're ready to hit stuff, right? Then if you come in here and you look at the other variant, who comes in at 5 points more, the Timberwolf Variant A, and woo, that's a lot of damage. Same TMM and movement. Much simpler. Again, when you're looking at special rules, if you're trying to determine or choose between the two, this one's real easy. Don't have to worry about the indirect fire. It's just got case and Omni. You're good to go. 773, most likely using that 7 for the middle range band. You can overheat to 8, and it's only overheat value of 1. So if you play him at a slightly higher than average pilot skill, let's say a 3 or maybe even a 2, which is pretty good, pay the point increase obviously to do that. Which there's a chart in the book that explains how to do that. If you use master unit lists, which I showed earlier in the video, you can adjust pilot skills when you're building a list. It'll do the math for you, which I highly recommend. And then you can print your list out. But I do like the nice premium color cards. They're also slick and shiny, so you can use a dry erase marker on them for tracking damage. But yeah, so being able to go into 8 damage versus this guy having a 5 up to 6, not bad. You're paying 5 points more, and you're getting a higher damage raw than this guy gets when he overheats, but it's at the expense of not having indirect fire. So some of that's going to come down to play style and what you're comfortable with. Again, if you don't want to be using these abilities and you just want to pay the higher thing for the straight up raw damage, you don't have to worry about some kind of sneaky gameplay or strategic gameplay. You just want to march down the field and blow stuff up. This is a pretty easy variant for you to use. So pilot cards here, we've got Lissabeth from Clan Smoke Jaguar. Shwoop. You've got Emily from Clan Ghost Bear. Man, both of those have pretty good gunnery skills. A 1-2 and a 1-2, not bad. They got to be somebody important. We got Edora from Clan Wolf. They must have misprinted. Anyone from Clan Wolf is supposed to have 0s, right? Just kidding. I got a 2-3. And then this one, Joshua Ward, Clan Wolf. That's a name you'll see frequently. That's a blood name. That's a pretty common name in the fluff. So, yep, and he says it represents the blood or the Ward bloodline. So, very cool. So let's go ahead and check out the Timberwolf Magcat model here. Now, sometimes you'll get these rocket pods that are a little bit crooked. They were glued on poorly. So you can sometimes bend them back in place, use a little hot water, or if you have to, you can use a little blade and you can get down in there. Be careful when you're cutting, don't cut yourself, but you can cut like down in there and then re-glue and reposition. This one's not too bad, but some of them, like this one right here in particular, will be a little wobbly. So you may have to do some doctoring. For something that's pre-assembled, not too bad. You have an occasional mold line you have to clean. They can be a little difficult, like he's got one on his leg here. They can be a little difficult because this plastic isn't like normal plastic. It tends to kind of curl, so it's harder to clean them. But for the price you pay for these, that's something I think is reasonable. And sometimes you'll have on these Magcats, the arms will be a little bent. This has got a bit more of it's got a bit more going on than some of these other ones. But again, a little bit of hot water, bend them back into place, not too bad. I'm a big fan of this recessed area where the rockets are, his LRMs or ATMs, whatever he's rocking. It's a great place for a wash. Get a quick detail in there on the tips of the rockets, which is really nice. I really like the X on the back here. Nice place for a wash. Looks good. Good details. But the focal point of the Magcat is the front. It's what looks good. You got the iconic profile. It's been on the cover of many a video game and a video game commercial for them. And we're going to get a zoom in here. I really like that cockpit. Get a nice area for the jeweling on the glass so you can paint that up. It's really, really nice. Got some nice areas here for decals as well. And we'll do a quick once over on these other mechs with the close-up so you can see them. See what you can do with them. This guy's kind of funny little raw face, right? And then we got this guy, so you can kind of get to his cockpit a little bit better than some of the other ones there. We got the Puma. And then we've got the 2 elementals. Boom. And that, guys, that is going to be our Clan Invasion unboxing. Now, like I said at the beginning, this retails MSRP for I think $50 is usually what it runs. Right now, the prices as of filming are inflated. Please don't feed the trolls. Don't feed the scalpers. Be patient. Wait for these to come in stock. They will be coming back in stock. Catalyst has told us they're coming. And if you really want to help support your FLGS, have a chat with your store owner. Ask if they can special order these or if their distributors can get them. And if they can, pick one up, order it through them, help them out a little bit. If they can't, then at least you said you tried. And you can check online with Fortress Games and Miniatures. You can check out Miniature Market. You can check out Amazon. And you can check out Ares Miniatures as well. But if you go to Fortress and you happen to buy anything, let Robert, the owner, know that I sent you. Now, we're going to get, I'm determined to get this box lid open. Ugh, finally. That legit took me like 3 minutes. That was really stupid. So we got that box lid on, and that'll conclude our unboxing for the Battletech Clan Invasion. If you guys enjoyed this video, enjoyed me breaking this down and just talking and rambling for a little bit, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and let me know what you thought in the comments below. Are you new to Battletech and this is something you're interested in and I helped you out? Are you a veteran? Let me know your thoughts. So what you think about this box? What do you think about the new plastics? Where would you go next? Sound off. I appreciate you guys letting me into your cell phones, your computer, wherever it is that you're listening to me ramble. I do appreciate it. This is fun for me, and some of you guys have seen this stuff before, some of you haven't. But this is fun for me because I get to share my passion with you guys. Hopefully bring in some new Battletech players or people to get into the hobby who aren't familiar with this, and I'm putting out some content. I'm broadcasting my message into the universe in hopes of finding even just one person to bring them into the fold, into something that I've come into and really started to love. So thank you guys for hanging out with me today. I really do appreciate it. Hope you had fun. As always, keep rolling those dice, keep painting those models, and I'll catch you next time.